Welcome back, traders, for another market outlook, this time for the week of February 23rd. Now, currently it is Monday morning at 3:30, so this is going to be a little bit later than I normally do this, but let's go ahead and get started with S&P on the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart, my target is still going to be the buy side up here. You can see we made 1, 2, 3 relative highs, so we do have a lot of buy side liquidity up here. However, last week's candle, you can see we went down a lot after just nicking the high of this. So I expect us to go for a discount. We have a we have a discount wick here on the weekly chart. It was supported before, so we'll see if we come back and if it can be support once again. But there's also this lower wick here. I have 50% of that marked. So I expect price to first come down to one of these discounts, maybe somewhere in between, before we head up for these higher targets. Now we could even come back down and take the sell side down here before we start seeking higher prices. But if we do start getting a big move to the downside, we do have these relative lows down here that we could be looking for as a sell side target if we do decide to flip to a bearish bias. But currently, I'm still going to lean towards bullish, but I do expect some sort of a retracement. Now, taking a closer look at the daily chart, you can see that Friday we had a pretty big drop. Now, the previous market outlook, I wasn't expecting price to go below here if we're going to maintain my bullish bias. Now, it did come down, but as you can see on the weekly, we can still be bullish, but we're going to be looking for some retracement, some sell side before I think we can go back up and head up there. So getting rid of this, but looking at this downside, we do have a bunch of sell side right here just below us. We can easily take that. It's very close to that weekly wick that was previously used as support as well. So we could just come down here, use this as support once again before going for the buy side. Now, if we go deeper, there is that other weekly wick. The lower wick, 50%, is actually the same as this daily wick as well, as you can see. So this can also lend itself as support. Now we could also come back to this previous daily fair value gap. There is sell side below here, so we could come and sweep the sell side below here. But if we start closing below this daily fair value gap, then I will start looking for the sell side as going to be my target. I'm going to start flipping my bias if we go down and close below this daily fair value gap. But until we do, I'm expecting some kind of a bounce back up to these relative highs. Now, the only problem is we could get a little speed bump once we come back to this fair value gap. Now, this daily candle is Monday's candle, so we haven't closed in just yet, but if we leave a fair value gap here, I will expect this to give us a little speed bump, but eventually I want to see price trade above it and use it as inversion. Moving on to Nasdaq on the weekly, there's not too much to see, but I do have the same sentiment as I do with S&P. I am looking for higher prices. We did create these relative highs now, so we could be looking for price to bounce back up to take the buy side liquidity above here. This definitely going to be a nice partial if we do start doing it. Now, if you look back here, there's not a lot of inefficiency except for this right here. We do have a weekly gap. You see this week closed up here, whereas this week opened down here. So there is a gap between these 2 weeks. You don't really see it on this chart, but if you go down into the lower time frame, I'm sure you're going to see a pretty big gap here. But I went ahead and marked out with these 2 purple lines. I think that we could provide some support once we reach in here. If we do start seeing support here, then yeah, I think that's going to tell us we're going to be turning up and looking for the buy side above this high and maybe that high as well. And if we start trading below here, below this gap, and we can see it used as resistance, then there's all these sell side targets down below. Now, going down to a daily chart, there's actually a lot of possibilities that could happen here. Well, let's go for the targets first. We got the buy side above here, and then of course we have buy side above these highs as well. I'm gonna go ahead and take out the Wednesday high. Now, I think the high of the week is more relevant, but we went down on Friday past this fair value gap. Now, this comes up and we see it used as inversion, then yeah, I think we're going to go for some sell side targets. This previous wick on the daily was used as well. Not exactly sure if it's used as support, but it did close pretty much right on top of it. If this does show support and price does start going up above this previous fair value gap, then I want to see it come down and reclaim this fair value gap before we head up for the buy side. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is that we leave this SIBI intact. We go down lower. We look for sell side below a swing low. So below this swing low, or even perhaps this swing low. Now remember the purple lines, that's going to be the weekly gap over the weekend. Using these two candles, you can see it closed right here at the top and then open again next weekday, leaving a pretty big gap right here. So we could come in here and find some support. We could sweep this low, find some support. And if we do find support here and we start going up with this SIBI intact, then I will want to see price go above the SIBI and then come back and use it as inversion, then head back up for the high of the week last week, and of course for the buy side above here. Now the last scenario is if we start going down below this weekly gap and we started using it as resistance, then going down lower, I can see 50% of this wick, the low of this swing right here, and of course the sell side as well. So basically I'm saying, like, if we start seeing this as resistance, then I think maybe we want to go for some sell side first. So I would be switching my bias to the downside. So there may be some other things on the chart that I didn't go over, but I want to just make sure that I hit on my key ideas as we go into this week. But that's pretty much it for the analysis. And I got a quick announcement. I have a trip coming up this week, so there probably won't be a market outlook for the weekend, but I'll make sure to jump on it as soon as I can once I get back. But anyways, until I see you guys next time, safe trading.